A major 3 points in the Boxing Day fixtures for Derby County saw them beat West Bromwich Albion in what was a shock result, as West Bromwich Albion came into the game heading for the playoff positions and Derby County looking towards the bottom end of the division. Well, Derby County now find themselves 8 points clear of the relegation zone and 10 points away from those playoff places, and they face up against really difficult opposition this weekend in Leeds United in the late kick-off. But who is going to come out on top? Now, I think Derby County will come into this game a lot better than they did into the previous fixture versus Leeds United, but we will see how Paul Warne wants to set up. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL content coming your way across the course of the next few months. So obviously some massive stuff going on for Derby County, and none more so than the game at Pride Park versus Leeds United, where Derby County look to extend their gap to the relegation places even more so. Now, Derby County faced up against West Brom just the other night and performed really well with the likes of Jerry Yates, Kenzo Halmine, Marcus Harness and Nathaniel Mendez-Lang all putting in brilliant performances. And I cannot forget to mention Kane Wilson, who is of the West Bromwich Albion Youth Academy. Well, now we head into this one versus Leeds United. It's going to be a very difficult task, but it's one which I believe Derby County can win, and it's one which Derby County can put up a good display for themselves if Paul Warne allows them to. Now, heading into the game, there's a lot to talk about. Both teams suffering from a host of injuries. Leeds United are without Ilya Gruev, as well as Joe Geldhart, Junior Firpo and Maximilian Vobler. And Derby County are missing David Ozo, Erin Cashin, Liam Thompson and Ryan Niambi. 4 players who both sides will want to be a part of their squads and want to be involved. And Derby County, the big miss for them is obviously Erin Cashin. But Nat Phillips has stepped up to the plate and done a really good job across the course of the games he's played in, across the course of the season, not just over the course of Erin Cashin's injury. Now, heading into this one, both teams are on slightly contrasting forms. Leeds United are 4 wins from 5 with a draw in there versus Preston North End. They've beaten Derby County, Middlesbrough, Oxford United and Stoke City on the way to this game. That draw was against Preston North End 3 games ago. Derby County come in with 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw as they head into this one. The wins against Portsmouth, a 4-0 thumping, and the 2-1 victory over West Bromwich Albion. The draw was against Burnley in what was a really good performance, and the defeat was obviously to Leeds United at Ellen Road just a few weeks ago. Now, this game is going to be difficult. There is no debate in that. Leeds United have some incredible players, the likes of Joel Peru, the likes of Willie Nonto, Jayden Bogle. They've got some really good players in their squad, and none more so than the midfielder. I think his name, if I remember rightly, is Karanka or Kranke. Let me just find it. Tanaka, sorry, got it all wrong. I was thinking of Aitor Karanka. But Tanaka has performed really well for them recently, and you also can't ignore the importance of a player like Joe Rothwell, or even players in that forward line like the likes of Mana Solomon, Joel Peru, Dan James. Really good players, and in my opinion these are players who could be playing in the Premier League. And like, you look at players who they've let go of this summer. Archie Gray, massive player to let go of with a lot of upside. We've seen him playing for Tottenham more recently across the course of the back 4, and he's been brilliant. You look at who they've got in replacement of that, and they've brought in the likes of Joe Rondon, they've brought in Ethan Ampadu, Jayden Bogle, all players who are massively effective in this division. And what Derby County need to do heading into this one is they've got to shut down some really important players. Leeds United a few weeks ago brought in Joshua Gulavogi, a player who I think will be really good for them. And you look at their top goal scorers chart: Joel Peru, Brendan Aronson, Dan James, some massive names. You then go to the assist chart, you've got Willie Nonto, you've got Joel Peru, you've got Dan James again, and it's just so interesting looking at the players that they've got available in their squad. And obviously you can talk about the parachute payments, but you can also talk about they've let players go. They are a weaker team in my opinion than they were last season, and ultimately, in my opinion, I still think they should be odds-on favourites to win this division. Now, a quick look at the league table tells you that they're top of the division. 48 points from 23 games. Sheffield United just beneath them. They're just 1 point away from Burnley in third, who are looking to take that automatic promotion place away from them. And it's going to be massive. Like, at the moment, both pretty much all the top 3-4 teams are all on course for 90 plus point seasons, which is going to be absolutely massive for the division. And I think when we talk about what teams are on course for, we have to talk about Derby County and what we've done so far this season, currently sitting on 27 points. That means we're on course to finish on 54 as things stand, which is that bad? In my opinion, no. I think that keeps us in the division. I've said it since the start of the year. 50 points is the magic number. We're currently 8 points away from the relegation zone, which is Hull City in 22nd. And heading into this one versus Leeds, it is a bit of a free hit, in my opinion, given the gap that we have. And this is what I spoke about a lot of times during this season already. We could have so many more free hits if we'd have taken our results, taken our performances in the first half of the season. And ultimately, the big thing that's cost us in that is that one win in, 13 game run that we went on. Yes, we picked up, I think it was 3 or 4 draws, 5 draws in that run as well. But one win and a few draws just wasn't quite enough to really build a gap from the bottom. And Paul Warren said last night on the radio that he thinks we've probably dropped 7 points, which would put us on 34, which would put us comfortably in 9th place. And that would obviously look at Derby County would be in a completely different position right now, and it would be an interesting position to be in heading into the second half of the season, just being 3 points outside of the playoffs. But we have to make it clear, and I have to make it clear because I don't want people to think I'm thinking the wrong things, but we're not a playoff side. We don't have a playoff squad, but we could be in those playoff positions. In my opinion, I think we've dropped 12 points since the start of the season in games which we should have picked up points based on individual mistakes, referee chaos and managerial errors, player errors, things like that. I think we've dropped 12 points, which would put us 5th in the division. Do I think we're good enough to be 5th? No. Do I think we're good enough to be in that conversation 12th and above? I do believe so, yes. And we've just got to take our performances. We've got to get the results that we deserve. And you'll have seen across the course of the last few days, I've spoken about potential transfers and players who could come into Derby County. And obviously Ben Radcliffe, a player who could be leaving. There's a video about him dropping later on today. And I do personally believe that Derby County need to bring in a striker and need to bring in a winger. Now, obviously, the aim for this season is to stay up. That's all we're aiming for. But I personally think that bringing in a number 9 that can score goals will completely change the complexion of the season for us. And we could really push on in that second half of the season and really stabilise ourselves so that we get to the point where April to the end of the season, we can really push on and go, well, hang on a minute. Let's try and work with... Let's try and get Cruz Allen in the team. Let's try and get Niall McAndrew in the team. Let's see what those youngsters can do. Jake Rooney, Darren Robinson, if they stay at the club. Let's give them an opportunity. Dejan Brown, give him a run of games. And that's what I want for Derby County. I want us to get towards the back end of the season and be like, right, we're safe. Let's try things. Let's put Dejan Brown up front on his own with Cruz Allen in midfield. Let's try a Jaden Davison on the wing. Let's try a Lennon Wheeldon. Now, I believe Lennon Wheeldon's still out on loan. Obviously, Max Bardell's out on loan as well. Ben Radcliffe obviously looks set to join Crawley Town, which we'll be talking in much more detail later on today. So these are all things which, in my opinion, should be happening for Derby and stepping into those positions where we give youngsters the opportunity. Now, in my opinion, and I'm not going to put it up on screen or anything like that because I don't think you need it. I think you'll all know. Now, I think we should stick the same team that played versus West Brom versus Leeds United. Now, I know there's only 2.5 days rest. And well, it's not really rest. They'll train one of these. They'll probably do a recovery today, train tomorrow, play the day after. So it's one of those where I think for me, we stick the same team out there versus Leeds United. I think we go the exact same setup because I think the big thing that we did go into Ellen Road was we played into their hands by sitting deep and allowing them to push onto us. And ultimately, I don't think it worked. I think we went there with a game plan of not losing and not really a game plan of how are we going to win this game. And I think if we're going to beat anybody in this division, yes, it could turn into a little bit of a row, which in my opinion, we could then switch it up to sort of hold the scoreline back. But for me, we've got to go for it. We've got to put pressure on the opposition. And I think we've seen it so far this season. Luton Town, we should have won that game. We put pressure on. Sheffield Wednesday should have won that game. We put pressure on. Pompey, pressure, West Brom pressure. Now, yes, obviously West Brom lost their manager just a few days before the game, but that won't really change the quality of the squad, the players, and what they know they're capable of. So it's one of those for me. Same team, Zetterstrom in goal, back four of Elder, Nelson, Phillips, and Wilson. A midfield three of Marcus Harness, Ebro Adams, and Kenzo Holdmine, and a front three of Mendes Lang, Jerry Yates, and Caden Jackson. Now, I'm not entirely sold on Caden Jackson. He has up and down performances. Obviously, picked up the deflected goal versus West Brom, which was obviously a fairly decent strike, to be completely honest with you. But it's one of those for me. I'm 50-50 on him, so we'll have to see what happens. I think there is a world where there may be a Liam Thompson or a Ben Osborne potentially steps in if they're fit. Obviously missed the game at the weekend for injury and are noted as injury doubts heading into the next one. So it's going to be really interesting. You let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, turn on that notification bell, and stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County content coming your way. And I'll catch you in the next one.